Good morning, Steffi. How's the vacation? Miss anything?
No, nothing. You never miss anything when you go. Are you kidding? You step out for a cup of coffee, you miss something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Malcolm. I was just saying. You joke about being shouty McShoutface, but and this is not hyperbole. I was saying Carl Bernstein said rageaholic Trump is now a national emergency. I mean, I don't know if it. I feel like now a warning. People read the Woodward book and they're like, oh, now I'm alarmed, right? And
Carl Bernstein, though, he's been warning for at least a year or more.
Right. I mean, but again, your book, Plot to Hack America, came out before, obviously, the election. So I've had this sick feeling since then, and it must be difficult for you to watch, like people, the degree to which people are waking up and how really dangerous this is.
Well, what's difficult, the most difficult factor to watch is the people who still refuse to believe this, or those people who go off into this crazy impeachment porn fantasy world where, everything's just going to come tumbling down tomorrow morning. We have to be realistic about this. And what you're seeing with the news media is you are seeing them catch up to the intelligence community and the law enforcement community. Because, as you know, journalists won't believe anything until they've got 2 or 3 sources. They get it right from the horse's mouth. They don't analyze. They don't extrapolate. They report. And now with Woodward's book and Omarosa's book, they know you don't just bring the receipts. You bring a recording of the receipts. You scan it, and then you make sure there's 50 copies hidden around in case you died somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is very important. What we're seeing is you are seeing a slow motion collapse of this administration from the inside. And Carl Bernstein said this on CNN yesterday. He was really animated. He said Kelly should resign right now and should invoke and appeal to invoke the 25th Amendment due to mental incapacity.
Thank you. I mean, that's
Be a
what
patriot.
what I said earlier, Malcolm. The thing I'm afraid about now is, the part of this that makes him look like a doddering old fool, that no one's paying attention to his orders, that now he's going to go, no, now we're going to blow something up so that it doesn't look like I can't, that people are trying to save me from myself or whatever it is his ego is going to make him do next, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, of all the crazy things that we heard about in the last 24 hours, and it was pretty dang crazy, there was that meeting that he had with General Mattis asking him what exactly was the utility of U.S. forces in South Korea.
Aye.
And Mattis came back to him and said, to prevent the Third World War. And he seemed to have absolutely no understanding of U.S. intelligence systems in the Korean Peninsula or somewhere in the region of the Korean Peninsula, I won't say, which would give us ballistic missile launch warning threats within seconds, as opposed to a 15-minute radar detection off the coast of Alaska. And he said that Trump not only didn't understand it, but didn't even seem to think that it was worth having. And that's when Mattis said, he's got the mental capacity of a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
We are in serious, serious danger here. I mean, I laughed at a lot of that stuff this morning, but as it sunk in as I was listening to your program, this is dangerous territory. We are in a national security emergency.
Thank you.
The man controls an arsenal of 1,400 atomic bombs, which could be launched just because he says so.
Malcolm, this is why I've been saying that I was, drawn to you from the first time I saw you, because if you've been listening to the show, I keep saying people are entirely too calm for me. As you said, national security emergency. Carl Bernstein says national emergency. Bob Cesca says crisis every day. I mean, that's the thing. It's just you literally, you read this book and it corroborates all the other books, first of all, right? And secondly, I mean, and that he asked for a plan to bomb North Korea a month into office. I mean, it doesn't get any more dangerous than this. An active Russian asset who is an unindicted co-conspirator with access to the nuclear codes. I don't know how it gets any more terrifying than that. Do you?
I know, and it is terrifying. And as when I wrote Plot to Destroy Democracy, the second book, that whole chapter I wrote about Trump was about how the Russians engineered his worldview to be their worldview. And everything that I've heard from this validates that. Why would he come and say there's no necessity for 36,000 U.S. forces in the Korean Peninsula? Why would he go to a North Korean dictator and view him as a friendlier asset than the Prime Minister of Canada? I wonder why I get all the shouty McShout face about this.
You.
This is worth shouting.
This is what I've heard you talk about this before, and you tweeted about Bannon, but same as Trump, as Putin, fill in the blank. You said his goal is to destroy American democracy and replace it with a Russian-style autocracy, and that is obviously Putin's goal. And I think your second book is so important because you realize how much larger it is than just destroying American democracy and installing a puppet. It is this policy all over the world that is, and again, active Russian asset in the Oval Office. I mean, I don't understand how anyone can allow this to go on for another day. I really don't.
I agree with you 100%. Let me tell you, when I heard all this Mattis stuff this morning, I turned to my wife and I said, it might be true. This may be a Manchurian candidate, but a Manchurian candidate that has convinced himself that everything he believes, which was put in there by Russia when he met with the Russians at Miss Universe, that he believes this is all from his own brilliance, which means we're in serious danger. At any moment now, I mean, that whole thing where he said that we should attack Assad, we should kill the lot
just
of
kill
them.
him, just kill him. Yeah.
It's like that's a mental incapacity right there. If I had seen that at any command that I served in, all right, and in combat, I would have drawn a weapon on that person. You have to take that person under control. This man is in charge of this nation, and he thinks that his people think that they're owning the libs, that he's going to collapse this economy. He's going to collapse this nation. I've been saying this for 2 years exactly. What's today's date?
Yep.
The 5th. On the 3rd of September, 2016, I sent in the manuscript for Plot to Hack America. And I was on TV for 5 weeks shouting at the top of my lungs, we are under attack, and this guy is their asset. And, Bob Woodward has to come along to convince people that he's crazy, despite everyone on the liberal side of the ledger has been saying this for 2 years. But now he has some receipts. And I pray to God that Omarosa starts putting out tape.
Malcolm, I got to ask you, isn't that one of the most startling sections of the book? Is not just the practice session that Dowd puts Trump through to answer Mueller's questions that was a disaster, but that they did it for Mueller and said, we can't put him up there. The whole world's going to know what an idiot he is. And Mueller said, I understand. So, I mean, everyone, including Mueller, is trying to keep him from blowing up the world, basically, right?
Let me tell you, when your two lawyers, Dowd and Sekulow, go rolling into Mueller's office to essentially justify why their client cannot come in front of you because as they were saying, paraphrasing, their client is a pathological liar and he can't be allowed to meet with the special counsel, and they start explaining to him that he's going to end up in an orange jumpsuit, and Bob Mueller just sits back and goes, I understand. Bob Mueller is going to be the next John McCain of our generation.
But they basically were saying for national security. For national security, you can't interview him because the whole world. And first of all, Malcolm, the whole world already knows he's an idiot. But I mean,
yep.
But wasn't that their pitch to Mueller? Like, you can't put this on display for the world.
Yes, it was, and it's an insane discussion. It's two lawyers essentially going to a prosecutor and saying, our client's guilty, but for the sake of appearances, you can't prosecute him. You can't allow him to come in to testify. If I was Mueller, that subpoena would have been dropped that hour, right? As a priority to ensure. I mean, I really believe right now Robert Mueller is the salvation of this nation, or his staff. Even if they get rid of Mueller, none of that material disappears. You have to remember that. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in Watergate. And, Carl Bernstein, again, I'm going to go back to him. He was insane yesterday with fear. You could almost feel it off him. Yeah. He says, this blows Watergate out of the water. I think it was Heilman on Morning Joe said, it took Nixon 6 years to get to the point where he was mumbling around the hallways and paranoid, and Trump took less than 4 months.
Yeah. Well, what is your take on why this story Mueller will accept some written answers from Trump? Is it because of this discussion of that they that they had that he had with the lawyers?
Well, I don't know. I think that if I were to look at it from my perspective, from the outside, I would think that Mueller has more than enough documentation that he doesn't need him, and
Yeah.
he's just going to allow him an opportunity to come up and lie on paper, and that he's just got him. I mean, that's the only thing it could be. I don't think Mueller is going to pull any punches. Like I said, I know people that know Robert Mueller, and they said his hobby is putting people in prison. And he's got murderer's row of prosecutors there. No one's going to allow a punch to be pulled here. But until such time as he starts dismantling the rest of that racketeering and corrupt organization, right? He's going to have to be careful, and we need to have his back, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple of movements out there that are plotting a massive national protest, and we need to be ready to hit the streets in order to save this democracy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by the way, you said Crazy Town. I trademarked that when John Kelly called Trump's White House Crazy Town. But, it's so funny, Malcolm. I tweeted about it. I think you retweeted me about, sobbing watching McCain's service. Because, and I said it felt like the death of decency in my dad and Goldwater's party. But, I mean, or, as you say, the death of democracy if we don't get out there in November. But, then when I finished crying, your tweet made me cry again because you, obviously, John McCain, a fellow Navy guy, you said, fair winds and following seas, shipmate, you are a true hero. We shall never forget your deep love of country. In war and peace, you are relieved. We have the watch. Goodbye, John McCain. Yeah, but because you're right, like I'm sure, you and I didn't agree with him on everything either, but
No.
it did. I mean, that funeral service was powerful for so many reasons, wasn't it?
Yeah, a friend of mine who's in the Navy was at the Naval Academy the day before, and he went down to the sarcophagus of John Paul Jones. And if you ever go to Annapolis, do it. Go to the Naval Academy Visitor Center, get the tour, go see the sarcophagus of John Paul Jones. It's one of the most beautiful places in America. I mean, just a stunning, stunning place. Down there was a wreath from his class, the class of 1958. And this was interesting. They called him to the moral compass. And it's true. John McCain, in the end, became the moral compass of this nation. And he set the light, he set the path that we should be on. Because we are in a time of indecency and indignity and hatred from the other side. They just want to do things to, own the libs.
Yeah.
And they were willing to destroy this nation to do it. And we can't allow that. As patriots, we have to stand up to that. And we have to first get everyone's ass out to vote, right?
Yep. Malcolm, real quick before we go, have you seen Active Measures? I watched the first half of it. And, again, I've been sick to my stomach since I read your first book. But, I mean, whatever way you absorb, what has happened to us in terms of Russia and what is still happening, it is just sickening as an American, isn't it, to realize the enormity of this?
It is. And I loved Active Measures. That's a great film. And you're right. It's a good consolidation of all this information. But let's be honest. To the average listener of this show, there's about 6.5 million listeners a day. The average listener of this show is a person who is engaged and involved and loves the country. You, listeners, need to go out and convince people the nation was attacked and that movies like documentaries like Active Measures, and books like Fear and The Plot to Destroy Democracy are necessary to understand how much trouble we're in. This could be the last free and fair election in American history if things go badly. And I'm not saying that to be exciting. I'm not saying that. I'm giving it to you as a raw intelligence analysis. It would be the same way in Burundi as it is now. Dictators use elections to take power and to take rights from you.
We are going to be announcing very soon. We are going to be working with a very exciting Get Out the Vote group. for the Sexy Liberal Blue Wave Tour. Malcolm Nance
Sweet.
on panel for the very first one in D.C. September 22nd, along with Daryl Hammond. More surprises to come. It could not be more important. Malcolm, thanks so much, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, take care.
All right, love
Bye-bye.
you. There he goes, Malcolm Nance. I think he just gave us 500,000 more listeners than I thought we had. Or maybe we do have them because of Malcolm.
Many people. He gave you many people, believe
Lots
me.
of people.
Tremendous.
Hello, people.
People.